What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking back on the derby between Chelsea and Tottenham, and this is going to be a tactical look at both teams on how we can see them evolve over this coming season. Now, before we get into it, check out both my books. They're online on Amazon. There's links in the description below. I'm using Keyframe to make this video, and let's get right into the tactics of the match. So Chelsea line up with a back four in possession of the ball, which is different from how they defended with a back five, but in possession they go with a back four, and their right wing back Ruben Loftus-Cheek inverts to then join a four-man midfield. So we actually see this shape look like a modern 4-4-2, and this is compared to the Tottenham shape in a 5-2-3. This would then come deeper into a 5-4-1, but in the midfield third we see clearly it's a 5-2-3, with their two holding midfielders playing a very important role and staggering themselves to the ball side to then support the press when they would look to pressure and win the ball, but this would often leave players like Ruben Loftus-Cheek inverted and between the lines, able to potentially progress the ball if the Chelsea team was able to find a link and exploit this superiority. So now as we look forward and the shape from Chelsea becomes more expansive, we see clearly their back four creating width through these defenders. Their two holding midfielders, with Jorginho and Conte being the more progressive one, control the center of the field and create strong passing options into the more advanced players. And with having Sterling and Kai Havertz in the same squad, it creates fluidity within the team to then give these central passing options and give Chelsea opportunities to progress the ball, not just from the first line, but also from the holding midfielders. And with Kai Havertz and Sterling, they can manipulate the defense and change who drops deeper between the lines and who stays higher up the field to then pin. And now this is against a very clear shape from Tottenham and a very compact shape both vertically and horizontally. So what the shape is a 5-4-1, with their midfielders shifting across and their wide midfielders responsible for covering the width provided by the fullbacks of Chelsea. So by shifting across, staggering themselves as they reach the wide area, it was very hard for Chelsea to break down Tottenham, and they had to be very patient and look to then create gaps, which then Jorginho was instrumental through finding between the lines. Also, in this system for Chelsea, the central defenders are so important, and it's so crucial that they have their movement drilled down to a T and create superiority at the back line to then allow certain defenders to jump between the lines so players like Sterling can't become free and progress the ball against this defense. Now Tottenham in build-up, we'll see how they overload this right-hand side when they use their goalkeeper in possession of the ball. So this right side is the side they overload when they use their goalkeeper Lloris to build up out of the back, which then manipulates the Chelsea press and looks to try and draw out more players of Chelsea to then release one of the two holding midfielders or a player higher up the field like Kulusevski between the lines, or even Harry Kane for then runners to run deep. But Chelsea, they went with a 5-3-2 with wide center strikers responsible for pressing the central defenders, supported by two more advanced eights, which then gave them good control over the center of the field, and the wingbacks for Chelsea progressed higher up the field, maintaining horizontal compactness that didn't allow Tottenham to play these vertical passes between the lines and progress the ball. Because with Cucurella here and the central defenders deeper, Jorginho deeper, they can then shift across and jump. So if Cucurella cannot intercept this pass, they'll have defenders in behind to then cover this position and still have a 2-1 superiority over Kane. So it's very hard for Tottenham to progress the ball in control higher up the field. So now when we see in the midfield third, we really start to see the variation in Tottenham and how they build from the back and what we'll expect to see for the remainder of the year. So in Tottenham's back three, in possession, they usually create some movement with a holding midfielder, Højbjerg, dropping deeper on the left-hand side, releasing the left center back to then go into the wide area and create dual width on one side. So then by creating this numerical overload on the left-hand side, Romero goes a bit higher and wider and allows him to actually progress the ball via dribbling up the field around the block of Chelsea. So with this, when he progresses forward, he'll then have a midfield three supporting him because of Højbjerg dropping deeper, trying to pull out a Chelsea defender or the midfielder, drawing them forward to then exploit this space between the lines, with Kane pinning two central defenders, allowing for Kulusevski and Son to then try and get on the ball between the lines. Chelsea, they went with their back five, allowing them to have players jump and Reece James almost man-mark Son between the lines because of the back five. Jorginho is left a little bit alone with Conte and Mason Mount jumping, with Sterling as well, helping out in the fluid midfield, with Kai Havertz also playing as the lone striker. So sometimes the shape can look a little unorthodox in how they defend, but it was very effective because they had numbers covering the space between the lines. Son was neutralized by Reece James, and when Romero would shift to then progress the ball, he would often run into trouble because there weren't the players between the lines to then create superiority. Kane didn't drop deeper as well as he could have to then initiate third man runs, then getting in behind. So this is where we're going to wrap up the analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.